Hello and welcome. I'm Eleven and this is JavaScript web automation course. Today we're gonna talk about assertions or checks, and we're gonna cover topic AAA pattern. First, again, as always, quick follow-up on the previous video. If you remember, I was showing you the different ways of typing into an input using fill method, using press sequentially method, and using some JavaScript injection on the page, just changing the value of the input. Then I was showing you how to do the click, just with the plain JavaScript, again injecting JavaScript on the page, and by clicking as real user does, using Playwright method click, just moving the mouse, press and unpress. So these are the different ways of interacting with the web page, and I suggest you not to think too much of it. Like, don't think about, okay, here I will save 5 milliseconds if I use method like if I inject JavaScript and click on the element using JavaScript, I will save 5 milliseconds for this test. And if I do this for 100 tests, okay, I saved 500 milliseconds. Okay, that's half a second. Okay, that's actually not a lot. So I suggest you not to waste time on premature optimization. Don't do any, how you call it, penny pinching in auto tests. Just right now autotest can run in parallel. Right now autotests can run on several machines, and yeah, just don't waste your time on optimizing things before you actually need this. Like, better spend more time on making your tests more stable, on selecting better locators, and the most important is spend your time on choosing wisely what to automate. And actually, this is an interesting topic I haven't covered in any of the previous videos. So yeah, I think you just have to automate what's the most business critical. So the most business critical flows should be automated. Something that brings your company money and you have to test it in every regression testing, you have to automate it. So yeah, better focus on these things than on premature optimizations. All right, because yeah, I just wanted to mention this because many junior developers, then they want to make their tests faster. Okay, so this test ran in 30 seconds and they like tweak something, change something, and now it runs in 29 seconds. They want 1 second. Yeah, so what, they spent a few, I don't know, let's say couple of hours optimizing that test, and yeah, it's not worth it. Usually it's not worth it. All right, so today we're gonna cover 3 topics from the course content: assertions, checks, navigation, and I will show you some real life examples of the tests which I wrote a long time ago using AAA pattern. And we'll talk about what AAA pattern actually is. So tip of the day. Tip of the day is just go ahead, copy this code. Now let's go to any website. Yeah, I always prefer my blog. And let's paste it here. So what this does: document, query selector, all. So it selects all elements, which are paragraph, span, div, headers, lists, table elements. So all the elements that may contain text. Like, these are maybe not all, but most that I could think of. And for each element, I make the content editable to true. So let me just execute this. Okay, and what happens now? Now I can change anything on the page. sometimes you need to test something. Okay, how this works if the string is too long. Okay, it just goes to another line. Same here, right? So you can change anything. Boom, here, here. So you don't have to go to elements and change some value. So sometimes it might be useful for you. Just so you know. Tip of the day. All right. Actions. Again, our favorite documentation. Let's see, what do we have here? To have text, we already used this one. So this is an assertion page, but they are selecting some element by this locator and then calling this method to have text submitted. Actually, I think we already did the same with some articles here in the previous videos. Auto return assertions. Okay, we'll return until the assertion passes or the assertion timeout is reached. Note that return assertion are async, you must await them. Okay, so what does this mean? Auto return assertions. It says that Playwright constantly sends requests to the browser with your locator. So let's say you open some page and it takes 3 seconds to display some element on the page. So the page is opened and then 3 seconds, let's say, to load this YouTube video component. And until it's loaded, it's not present yet. And let's say we wrote some locator and we want to interact with this element. So Playwright, what Playwright would do, Playwright would send requests, messages to Chromium and ask it, like, is this element by this selector present on the page? Then browser replies, no, not yet. Then again, so this happens constantly. This is what's written here. Will retry, yeah, so it retries. It asks browser, is this element on the page? Browser replies, not yet. Element on the page? Not yet. On the page? Not yet. Yeah, until it finds the element, until this element loads. And if this doesn't load within the specified timeout, which is in your Playwright config, timeout. Do we have timeout here? Define config, test config, args, test options, timeout, default timeout, action timeout, navigation timeout. Do we have some? Let's do this way. Timeout, timeout, timeout. Test timeouts, expect timeouts. Yeah, let's check these two. Default timeout should be something. Yeah, this one is 5 seconds and this one is 30 seconds. So test timeout is 30 seconds. So it tries to find element for, I think, 30 seconds. Yeah, and the timeout, we can specify this in config. Set timeout for single test. And this one, separate timeout. Assertions like this one have separate timeout. Seconds by default is not related to the test timeout. Produces the following error. Expect timeout. Okay, so we have timeouts for the whole test, which are these. So default timeout is 30 seconds. And we have expect timeout. 5 seconds for some element to be visible. Okay. So that means that Playwright would send requests to the browser for 5 seconds to check whether the element is visible. That's just the high-level overview what happens. So within 5 seconds, it will send request to the browser, asking is this element there. Okay, so what do we have? We have some assertions here. Element to be attached. Let's check what this one is about. Attached to the DOM node. So this means the element is in the DOM tree, in your HTML DOM tree. So it's there. Maybe it's not yet visible, maybe it's disabled, but it's attached in the DOM, so it's in your HTML. Then element to be checked. Checked is for checkboxes. Element is disabled is for inputs or buttons that are disabled, that have attribute disabled true to be disabled. To be editable, again for inputs. Then container to be empty. Let's check to be empty. Points editable element to DOM node that has no text. Okay, this is about some element that has no text, to be empty. Then element is enabled, then element is focused, like input focused. You remember I showed you on the last video. To be hidden, element is not visible, like style display none. Element has style display none. To be hidden. To be in viewport, sorry. Viewport is your size, like size of the window, and we are checking if the element is in the viewport. Okay, then what else? To be visible, to contain text, speak for themselves, to have attribute. This is HTML attribute. To have class, again HTML attribute class. It checks it. Then to have count, like number of children. To have CSS, some CSS property on it. To have ID, this is again HTML tag ID, sorry, HTML attribute. To have JS property, screenshot, matches text, has value, like has value is inside of input, have text, like some button can have text or some block can have text. To have values, has options selected. This one can be again for the drop down, can be used for the drop down. So if you choose multiple, yeah, it's here. If a drop down has multiple attribute, then you might choose two values here. Select option R and G, and then you have this assertion to have values. Yeah, I haven't mentioned this, but like assertions are basically some checks. We are checking that something is on the page or not on the page. So before that, you remember we were doing some actions, and now we do some checks. To have title, page has a title, like here, Assertions Playwright. Here's the title of the page. Page has URL. This is the URL of the page. Response has an OK status. This is for auto tests, basically. I mean for API auto tests for responses. Yep. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that later. So we can send API requests using Playwright, and then we can evaluate that response to be okay, like 200. Okay, non-return assertions. So some assertions are not return, like these are auto-return assertions, which I told you Playwright constantly sends messages to the browser asking, is the element on the page, like is it checked, is it checked, is it checked? Browser says no, no, no. It continues this for 5 seconds until it finds that element is actually checked. Okay, and here we have these assertions allow to test any conditions, but do not auto retry most of the time, blah blah blah. Okay, so let's review the ones that are not retried. So Playwright executes them once. Only once Playwright does the assertion, and if it fails, test fails. Here 5 seconds, retries. Here one time check. Okay, to be, yeah, we can check. This is pretty much similar to child library or something like that, or some jest assertions. Yeah, just you can read through them. To be value is the same, like we compare two values, value and something what's inside here. Value not to be this one, value to be this one. Yeah, and value to be defined, undefined. Yeah, you have to know some just JavaScript data types, boolean, undefined, null, strings, and then you can work with this. To be less than, comparing the numbers. To be instance of, like if you have object and class, this is just the JavaScript comparison. Value greater than, if you have some value. Yeah, just, yeah, I feel stupid like reading through all of this. Just when you need something, you'll go here and find what you need. Okay, yeah, but remember that these are assertions for some locators and some page assertions, and these are evaluated only once, and these are for some specific value. Okay. Negating marchers with the not, same as in child library, nothing new. Not to equal 0. So we take some value from the page and we assert that it's not equal to 0. Soft assertions, we'll talk a bit later about them. Custom expect messages. Alright. We can do custom expect messages, but should we? Yeah, okay. So why not? So usually you would just write your assertion in this way. Where is it? Should be logged in. Come on. Yeah, just without this string. Just like this. Usually you would write it like this. So expect page by text name to be visible. And Playwright would complain, like fail the test if this element is not found. Playwright would complain like element is not found after some timeout. And we can add some custom expect message, custom error message. So if this element is not found, then Playwright would throw this error in the logs. Should be logged in. And this is an example of such error. Error should be logged in. And page assertions. I think we already reviewed the page assertions. And now, yeah, let's see, to have URL. This checks for the URL of the page. And we can also have some regular expressions. So yeah, it just here, let me translate this one to human language. This regular expression says that any number of characters, and then it should end with login. So like this, login. So this one would succeed. Test for this URL would succeed if I have URL which looks like this. This would fail because it doesn't match this regular expression. So this is like any amount of symbols before login word. Okay, and what are the methods that we have? To have screenshot, we'll cover screenshot in other videos. To have title, okay, title again, we can pass regular expressions here, beautiful. and we can, yeah, title is like what we have here, page assertions, Playwright. This is the title of the page. And to have URL, yep, that works. And also with the not, like inverting the assertions. To have your not have URL error. Now let's do some practical stuff. Let's just use some of these. Okay, the tests. And now, okay, I don't need this anymore. Let's see. Fill some text here. About me, click. Okay, so it navigated to about me page, and now I want to check that page has, wait a minute, expect page to have URL. Yep, page to have URL, and let's call it about. Now let's run this test. Waiting. Boom, it failed because what? It says to have URL with timeout. Okay, that didn't work, but we can change it with regular expression like this, about. Let's see if this works. Running. Okay, this one worked because my URL contains about route, like the path of my URL. Okay, beautiful. So this is to have URL. And do I have a title? I'm not sure. To have title. I'm not sure what title I have. About, maybe about me or about author. Let's run. Let's see. Okay, one passed. Yeah, means that I have this title. And if I want to do the exact match of the page title, I'll do this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Failed after 5 seconds. Yeah, this is the title that I have. Beautiful. Okay, rerunning the test, and that should be enough. Let's actually write a couple of tests here. Blog navigation, blog URL and title. So we're going to this page and just checking the URL and title. Here we would check blog navigation to about author page. Navigation to the page, search, click. No, we don't need the search anymore. Search input. Okay, HR interview questions, we don't need this. About me, yeah, we just need to click on this. So I comment in everything else. And what happens? Okay, we navigate to this page, we get this button, we click it, and then we expect the URL to have about. Okay, so from this page navigating to about me, and yeah, evaluating these values. Actually, this test will fail. Yeah, let's actually make it fail. Let's make it fail. Okay, 1. Yep, I know it's gonna fail. Blah blah blah. About, yeah, it couldn't find the about. So let's say URL has Ilarion Halushka. And then here about author. Yeah, now it will fail here. No, it didn't. Oh, okay. This is another test. I'm rerunning this one. Okay. This one passed. So page has this title and URL has this Ilarion Halushka subdomain. Now let's see this test. Navigation to about author page. Okay, going to the page, clicking on About Me, to have URL, to have title. Navigation to about author page. Okay, that works. Let's write something else. Navigation to home page from about author page. So first we are clicking on About Me, then we are clicking on home, then we're going back home, and we expect not to have this in URL, not to have about in URL, and not to have title about author Ilarion Halushka, because we navigated back to the home page, right? And here I'll just copy this. So we are expecting that we are not on about page because we navigated to home, and we are expecting that this also work, right? Okay, test passed. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's try to add more assertions here. Going to my website, About Me page. Now I want to see that I have back to the list of articles button. Back to the list of articles. I'll just search it by text or by class, whatever. I'll just search it by class. And in this test, okay, after checking the title, expect page locator back to articles button, let's say to have text back to the list of articles. Let's try this. So now we are using this assertion of this element. Okay, one test passed. Yeah, so that means that this element indeed has text back to the list of articles. Beautiful. What other locators do we have? Let's play with something. To be checked, to be disabled, to be editable. Let's get this input. Autocomplete, blah blah blah, form, social media, header, inner, class, form control, search, name queue, area label, search. Okay, actually I want to find it by this locator. Let's check. Yeah, let's add one more test here. So again, going to the main page, check the search input, check the search input, visible and editable enabled. Visible, editable, enabled. Okay, taking this locator, area label. If I could only remember how to check this area label, I think this way should work. Area label, and now what? Now I want to check to be visible, right? To be visible, then what else? To be enabled and to be editable. Okay, these are assertions I want to make on this element. Boom, let's run it. Okay, passed. Perfect. What else? Now let's say, oh, I could have used this. Okay, find, and here I have replace, and here I can replace all. Boom. Nice try. Page, come on. Now let's talk about a popular interview question: assertions, soft versus hard. So all of the assertions that we were looking at were hard assertions. So the tests would fail immediately if one of these assertions would fail. So let's say this assertion fails, then test doesn't continue execution here. So test wouldn't check any of these. It would fail on this step. Let's actually, yeah, let me try to do this here. So let's say I have some broken assertion. I'm running this test, and the test fails exactly on this step. It fails on this step and it doesn't go further. It doesn't get to this line. So this is hard assertion. And you might be wondering, what are the soft assertions? And let's check on the docs. Soft assertions. Beautiful. So let's just copy some example from here. Make field no stop, blah blah blah, to have text. Okay. Yeah, actually we shouldn't stop this test info errors. Okay, let's try it this way. Expect soft. So this is soft assertion. And let's make this one also soft assertion. Okay, so now let's see what happens. Let's say this one is wrong assertion. So this should fail. Previously, it didn't go to this line. It failed on this line, but now we added this soft assertion, and let's see what happens. So it waits for 5 seconds. Okay, beautiful. So what happens is it actually got to this line. You see, it says 14 milliseconds. So actually it got to this line, and this line didn't throw any errors. Let's make this one also throw an error. Okay, now we have 2 errors. You see, in logs we have this one, first one, which fails, and then we have, yep, here, second error. So Playwright actually went through both assertions, and both failed, and now we have 2 errors in logs. And if we don't use this soft assertion, then it fails on this one. Let me remind you. It fails on this one and doesn't get to the next line. Yep, so it failed here. It didn't get to this line. We see no milliseconds here, and we see only 1 error here. Only 1 error. Yeah, so that's the difference between soft assertions and hard assertions. Most of the time, I think you will use hard assertions, but in some use cases you might need to do like 5 assertions of some element, and yeah, and then see how many of them fail. So yeah, just so you know that soft assertions don't break the test execution, and they continue till the end, and then they throw errors at the end of the test. All right, so this was the difference, soft and hard assertions. And now let's talk about AAA pattern. I call it AAA pattern. So what these A's stand for. First one is arrange, then act and assert. Arrange is prepare tests. Then act, do test, execute something, and assert, do the assertion, do some check. How this looks? This looks like this, what we already wrote. Navigate to about author page. So first, this is arrange, prepare, then act, perform, do, and then assert, check. So this is the pattern for most of the tests you will find in the industry. Most of the tests look like this. We are arranging something for the test, so it's like precondition. If you know what's precondition, this is precondition. We are going to navigate into some web page. Then we do the steps, like the real actions. Like in test case, these are the steps. Click this, go here, navigate here, type this, and then we do the assertions, like actual expected result. We compare the actual result with the expected result. Actual result to have title, expected result. So this is how it looks. Here, the same. Arrange, perform, do, arrange, act, assert. Same. Go to some page, click on some buttons, assert that something happens on the page. Then here it's pretty much the same. It's just we just do the arrange and then we do assert. Assert checks. So we skip the act because there is nothing to act on. We just want to check that some element is visible, editable, and enabled. That's it. Same here. So this is arrange and this is just assert check. That's it. That's basically all you have to know about this AAA pattern. Let me actually show. And some people, sometimes I see tests, some people write it this way, just for every section they're like, okay, I am arranging tests, okay, I'm doing some actions, I do some assertion. I feel like this is redundant and I just write tests this way. I just skip unnecessary comments, and I think it's already clear like that this is arrange, act, and assert. For visual splitting of these sections, I just add empty lines. Okay, let me show you. Okay, here I put some examples of what might be the arrange steps, like login as some user, as admin, or as, I don't know, as client, go to some page, navigate somewhere, create test data in database, something like this. Then doing the action is like steps. Click, fill input, upload file, do some keyboard events if needed. Then assert, check that element is visible, checked, has text, has count, etc. This is what we covered in today's lecture. This is what we covered in previous lecture. And yeah, arranging, basically we covered this long time ago, navigating to some page. We will still cover login and creating test data before the test, but that's for later, not for today. Okay, Code review time. A couple of weeks ago, I accidentally found some repository which I was committing to like in 2017. So this is my commit from 2017, and let's see what we had in auto tests at that time. Six years ago, or almost 7 years ago actually. So we have the tests. These tests are written using Protractor framework, which is like I think it's deprecated now in 2023, 2024. Yeah, but most of the things, they look the same. They looked the same 6-7 years ago, they look the same now. Let's check some tests. This is Protractor framework. It's different from Playwright, but it's pretty much similar thing. So first, I'm just showing you example of arrange, act, assert pattern. So this is, I'm arranging some test. I'm navigating to go to MA traffic levels. So this is navigation to some page. Then mobile analytics traffic levels page, select filter day. Then I'm selecting some filter day. Then I select filter network. Then I select company name. So this is act. I'm acting, I'm doing some action, some steps. And now I do the expect the assertion. Get updated reports button is enabled to be truthy. So I expect this button to be enabled. I'm selecting something and then expecting this button to be enabled. Then let's check another test. It should display options PNG, JPEG, on chart, context menu. Okay, again, I'm navigating somewhere. I'm doing some click. I'm doing mouse move over some button, and I do some assertion here. So again, prepare, do the action, mouse move over some element, and then assert that some context menu is displayed. Context menu is displayed. Should be clear, right? And then what I do next is, yeah, again, I do some assertions here. Expect options is displayed to be truthy. Amount of context menu options. So there should be 8 options in context menu. Okay, that's what I'm checking. So again, arrange, act, assert. Let's check here. Arrange, navigating. Then I do expect right away. Then I do expect again. And then I do expect again. Okay, so no actions here. I just went to some page and did the expects. So I skipped this act section in the middle, well, because it's not needed. Again, one more test. Should display tab top objects with 500 error codes at top objects page. Again, I'm doing navigation, A1. I'm clicking on some tab, 2, and I do some assertion. Expect header text to equal top objects 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I just wanted to show you how real tests look like on some real project from 2017, and I want to say you that not much changed since that time. This is same JavaScript. This is just a little bit different framework called Protractor, and now we are using Playwright. Tomorrow we might use something else, and it doesn't matter. If you know JavaScript well, you don't care on which framework you're writing. You just don't care. Yeah, basically when you get more experience, you don't even care which language you are using for auto tests. Like it's Python, Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, whatever. Whatever you use, it's the same for you. I always say it's same clicking, same filling the inputs, same doing some assertions, and framework provides everything we need. Okay, let's also check navigation today. Navigation, we already used this one. Go to, then get text, hydration, waiting for navigation. Okay, this might be a useful thing. So sometimes some pages, you navigate to some page and it does a few redirects. So you navigate to some page, then like it responds with some 301 or 302, the redirect HTTP codes, and in headers it gives you the URL to which browser should navigate. So you open some page, page 1, it replies with 301 and like says navigate now to this page. You do the redirect, and these redirects might happen like 5 times. So if this is the case on your project that you're testing, then you might use this wait for URL. So you're waiting until some page loaded. So it like does the redirects, and in the end Playwright waits for some specific URL to be loaded, like here. Here it waits that URL with the login route is loaded. Okay, what else do we have? We can get the page URL, page on document loaded, on load. Okay, usually you won't need these two for document loaded and load. Scripts loads, yeah, this is when document is loaded, this event is fired, like Chromium sends event to Playwright, like DOM content loaded, and then Chromium sends this event, so we can use these methods. All right. Yeah, I think this was it for navigation. There is not much here we can explore. Just go to some page and wait for some URL. Hydration. In time you stumble upon case Playwright performed in action. Nothing happens. Text input field. The most probable reason behind would page hydration. First static version of the page sent to the browser. Yeah, some websites have this problem with, like, they are slow. So it takes time. Like first it loads the page, the HTML, and then it loads the elements of this HTML one by one, and Playwright tries to click on some element, but there is no handler for that element. So element is in HTML, but JavaScript is kind of not connected to that HTML element. And like Playwright does the click, but nothing happens on the page. And this is usually the problem with hydration of the sorry, of the web pages. Okay, I think for navigation that's it. And yeah, I'm happy to announce that today we covered 3 topics: assertions, navigation a little bit, and AAA pattern. You see, I'm losing my voice. This is 3rd video I'm recording today, so please, as always, hit like and go to my GitHub, like hit star under that repo that I have. It's gonna grow. I have big plans for that one. Okay, so homework after today's video: read the docs, use all assertions you can on some website. Just go play. Already write some tests. Come on, like it's 9th, or what is this? Yeah, 9th video. Go to some website and just practice. I'll be happy if some people just stop watching my videos and just actually go and do something themselves. just go out there, test some website, play with it, please. And then get back to my videos for some tips. Just set the speed x2 and just watch what I have. Maybe something will be useful for you, like the tips of the day at least. Okay, next time we're gonna write auto tests for some real project. I will take a website and I will write, let's say, 10 auto tests that I would write on a real project. I would write 10 auto tests, and yeah, we'll play with the reporting, with running tests in different ways. Yeah, it will be just some practice time. Lecture 10 is practice time. It's gonna be fun. All right, as always, thanks. Learn some JavaScript, subscribe to my channel, enjoy your life, have a great day. Love everyone who leaves comments under my videos, so really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and as always, see you in the next one.